So today we're going to be making a delicious weeknight chicken pho. Of course there are longer versions of pho, and I will cover that topic in future videos, but today's recipe only takes about 45 minutes, so it can pretty much be made anytime. To shorten the recipe, I'm starting with some chicken stock that I made myself and had in my freezer. If you don't have chicken stock in your freezer, you could use a pre-made base such as Better Than Bouillon or More Than Gourmet. Or you could take the package of boneless, skinless chicken thighs we're using for the meat in this recipe and simmer it into the pho base itself. Just be careful not to overcook it, and be sure to skim the shit that rises up to the surface because you want the pho to be clean and clear in the end. So let's not waste any more time and let's get to it. Okay, first thing we need to get our aromatics ready. We're going to take 1/4 of a medium-sized onion along with a roughly 1-inch sized piece of ginger and place them under a broiler on the center rack for about 10 minutes. And while that's in the oven, let's get our pot ready on the stove top. I mentioned earlier that I'm using homemade chicken stock from my freezer, so I'm going to thaw out 8 cups of this stock. This is just regular chicken stock and hasn't been prepared for pho in any way. If you wanted to put together a quick makeshift stock yourself, start with 8 cups of cold water and to that add 4 or 5 boneless, skinless chicken thighs to the pot. Bring that up to a light simmer and you'll notice some coagulated protein rise to the surface. Go ahead and skim that off and continue to cook it on a gentle simmer for about 15 minutes. Be careful not to overcook the meat if you are intending on using it in the soup as well. And if you wanted to give the stock a little bit of a boost, add a small amount of pre-packaged chicken base to the pot. And after about 15 minutes, our chicken pieces are cooked and we can pull them out. Allow them to cool slightly and you can shred them up for the soup. But for now, let's check back in on our aromatics. Turn off the oven and add 2 teaspoons of coriander seeds, 1 star anise, 3 whole cloves and 1 cinnamon stick and place it back into the oven. The residual heat will be enough to lightly toast these and bring out their aromas. If you're unfamiliar, star anise looks like this and has a licorice-like flavor. A lot of packages have some broken pieces, so use about 10 pointed segments for this recipe. You can get star anise at just about any supermarket, but as you can see here, it is significantly cheaper at an Asian market. And my reaction to the price difference is exactly what you're thinking it is. Okay, getting back to it, the aromatics have been in the oven for about 10 minutes and we can add them directly into the pot along with 4 teaspoons of fish sauce, 1 tablespoon of palm sugar, and a relatively strong pinch of salt. This needs to simmer for about 30 minutes now. If you don't have palm sugar, you can use brown sugar in place. Palm sugar is available in many forms in Asian grocery stores and is commonly used in Southeast Asian cuisine. It is one of the primary flavoring components in the dish pad thai. The one I usually use are these little pucks that are 1 tablespoon or 1/2 ounce each. Since I started with the stock already prepared, I need to get my chicken ready. Start with a small pot of water and a pinch of salt. Thinly slice the chicken, and once the water is either at or just below a light simmer, add the chicken. This is referred to as poaching. It is a gentle cooking method in which food is cooked below a simmer between 160 and 180 Fahrenheit. It is a good method to use in this case to ensure the chicken does not become overcooked. With the chicken being thinly sliced, it will only take about 5 minutes. Strain it out, set it aside, and we can prepare our garnish plate. Start by thinly slicing a jalapeno, grab a small plate, and add a decent amount of Thai basil to the plate. Do not substitute with Italian sweet basil. Mint is a much closer substitute if you need an alternative. Follow that up with a handful of bean sprouts, a few jalapeno slices, and a few small pieces of lime. And that will do it for our garnish plate, but pho also has some internal garnishes inside the soup bowl itself, so let's get those ready. Start by thinly slicing some green onions, preferably on the bias, and we're also going to slice up a section of the remaining onion from earlier. I also cut up some cilantro, but I forgot to hit record, so you'll just have to take my word for it. Okay, now that we have our knife work out of the way, let's get our bowl ready. Place a small handful of instant rice noodles followed up with our chicken, onions, cilantro, and green onions into the bowl. I should mention the noodles I'm using here are the same ones I used for the lemongrass soup a few weeks back, and I will link that video in the description. And by the time we've gotten all of this out of the way, the pho stock will be finished up so we can go ahead and strain it out. All that is left now is to make any final seasoning adjustments, and as long as the stock was at a simmer, it will fully cook the rice noodles. I do intend on covering longer versions of pho in future videos, but to be honest, you're probably not going to tell the difference. You can cut down the time significantly with having a stock already prepared, and from what I've noticed, you'll pretty much end up with the same result. And with that, we've reached the end of the video, and as always, thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.